When I found Marietta, I didn't just find a place to go to college. I found so much more than that.
I found friends. I found sports.
I found my passion.
I found family.
I found my calling. I found a place to call home. Discover what you can find at Marietta by visiting marietta.edu today.
So there you are. It's flu season, and you're over 65 like me. You might be forgetting something serious. Your annual flu shot. The flu can be life-threatening, especially if you have chronic conditions like diabetes and heart disease, which can worsen with the flu. The immune system weakens with age. Ask about a flu vaccine option made specifically for us. Visit ncoa.org/flu to learn more and talk to your doctor about vaccine options for people 65 and older.
Candidates have made their final pitches and the polls are closed.
Precincts are reporting for the Washington County Board of Elections is sharing numbers.
We will have a full report coming up on this special election edition of WCMO NewsCenter 15. Stay with us. Welcome to the special election night edition of WCMO NewsCenter 15. I'm Morgan Ahlstrom.
And I'm Evie Gravlin.
Election day marks the final chapter in one of the most bewildering, unpredictable, and consequential sagas in political history.
That's right, this presidential campaign has featured 2 assassination attempts, a criminal conviction, the late departure of one candidate, and a replacement candidate who could be the first female president.
Now Americans will choose between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. It may take days to know the final result, which could be just another surprise in a campaign that's been full of them. And it seems the campaign has all come down to these last few days. CNN's Brian Abel is at the White House with the latest on the presidential election's final moments.
Both campaigns really ramping up their schedules in the final days of this election to a dizzying pace, crisscrossing battleground states, trying to shore up those 270 electoral votes it takes to become the next resident of the White House here. And while making closing arguments, the rhetoric has ramped up too. The presidential campaign trail over the final weekend, running straight through the battleground states. Vice President Kamala Harris with multiple stops in Wisconsin Friday, Georgia and North Carolina Saturday, and Michigan Sunday, making closing arguments of her truncated campaign, saying she wants to remind people the stakes of the election.
We know who Donald Trump is. Now, this is not someone who is thinking about how to make your life better.
The Vice President Saturday also appearing on SNL.
Because what do we always say? Keep Kamala and carry on a lot.
The close of former President Trump's third presidential run, also pushing into multiple battleground states. He too was in Wisconsin Friday after Michigan, then Virginia Saturday, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and North Carolina Sunday.
I will bring back the American dream and we'll bring it back stronger than ever before.
As they sprint to the finish, polls show a race too close to call. Longtime Michigan Representative Debbie Dingell on just how close she believes this race is.
Been through enough elections that I can tell you I have never seen a tighter election.
Harris finished out her final campaign moments at the famous Rocky Steps in Philadelphia, while Trump held his last rally in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Many reported information overload with all the campaigning. In fact, those surfing the web would see what looks like wildly partisan information disguised as someone's newscast.
Instead of real news, that information may be the result of money raised and spent by organizations that have their own agendas and no legal obligation to tell you where their money comes from.
CNN's Tom Foreman has more on how dark money can buy power and influence.
Trump could make abortion inaccessible without passing any new laws.
More than $2.5 million in just 30 days. That's how much a conservative activist says Courier Newsroom has spent pushing progressive election stories on social media.
They're lemmings. We know this, folks.
Michael Duncan is co-host of the conservative Ruthless podcast and says his analysis of social media data shows that onslaught of information is largely being fueled with dark money, funds from unknown, unreported sources.
Left-wing dark money groups dwarf right-wing groups by magnitudes. But because they are technically news media and not a political campaign, they don't actually have to report any of that advertising as independent expenditures to the FEC.
Courier Newsroom readily says it is a progressive digital news network, and we are transparent about our values and our funding model. And while not confirming that big spending number, notes the data it is based on does not differentiate between political and non-political content. Still, watchdog group Open Secret says when it comes to dark money spending on Facebook, Instagram, and other social media sites in this election,
Democrats are benefiting more at those levels.
In 2010, the Supreme Court's Citizens United ruling paved the way for more outside political funding, and Democrats howled.
Republicans support opening the floodgates to special interest money and suppressing the right to vote. It's just plain wrong.
But Open Secrets has found as more and more money has flowed from unknown sources, it was up to $2.6 billion in 2022, the left has exploited that ruling better than those on the right, with this important caveat. That's just what we know at this moment.
There's a whole universe of dark money groups that not only don't have to disclose their donors, but also don't have to disclose their spending, so it makes it hard to see which side is benefiting more than the other.
Sometimes it takes months, years, or you never find out who paid dark money to influence an election.
Both sides use it, and a practice Democrats once denounced, now a serious weapon in their campaign arsenal.
While many voted early or absentee, today millions of people traveled to their local polling place to cast a ballot. Election officials want everything to go smoothly, but disruptions sometimes happen.
Pennsylvania's election director, Chief Greenberg, says the most common disruptions at precincts are late openings, lack of staffing, and voting machine issues. Greenberg says sometimes workers arrive late for facility owners forget to unlock the doors on time. Anyone in line to vote when polls close will be allowed to cast a ballot.
If there are voting machine issues, there are multiple backups in place so voters can cast a ballot. Counties typically have roving technicians respond if issues arise. They are quickly dispatched as quickly as possible once the issue is reported.
Counties also have emergency paper ballots if machines cannot be prepared or replaced on Election Day. Even if something goes wrong in the tabulator, voters will still be able to fill out their ballots while a technician travels to the precinct to fix the issue.
By the way, anyone can report a problem with the election process. They can call their county elections office, contact the Department of State, or reach out to a voter hotline run by nonprofits. After attacks on ballot drops in some parts of the nation, voters want assurance that they can trust the process, which has inspired boards of elections around the nation to prioritize trust, transparency, and security.
And election officials in Oregon opened their doors to give an in-depth look at how ballots are processed and protected.
Tiffany Lewis reports.
In the wake of attacks on ballot drop boxes in Portland and Vancouver on Monday, Lane County Elections is on high alert for any election security threats.
We were aware that drop boxes were going to be a target. All election administrators across the country were. So we have fire suppressants, we have increased patrols from our public safety partners, and we have increased monitoring of those drop boxes. So we prepared in advance for that, just in case something happened.
Once you cast your ballot, it's never alone with one person again. Lane County Elections has at least 2 people from different political parties handling your ballot at all times. If you dropped your ballot envelope in one of Lane County's 21 ballot boxes, teams of drivers pick them up and begin the sorting process. The county purchased these sorting machines in 2019 for about $250 grand. The machines scan the ballot's barcode and signature before being sorted and deconstructed or prepared for scanning by teams of temporary election workers. If there's an issue with your signature, a worker will manually review it to make sure it matches the signature in a voter's record. Thursday, October 31st is the last day the elections office can mail out ballots. After that, voters must go in to get a new ballot or sort out any issues.
And I would expect there to be a line, which is very exciting, that energy that we're feeling. There's a lot of people participating, so allow yourself some time and come earlier in the morning. It gets busier closer to the end of the day.
If there's an issue, a letter will notify you. You'll have until November 26th to fix your ballot. There are tight security measures implemented by Lane County Clerk Dina Dawson. Like, each room requires 2 badges to enter, and the ballot counting room is especially under lock and key. Observers from local political parties are welcome to watch the process in person, but anyone can observe every step via the Lane County Elections live stream on their website.
The biggest reward is observers coming in and observing what we're doing and just telling us how much they love the process, how transparent the process is. So we want people to participate, whether it's online, through the live stream, or coming in and observing.
Ballots are then reconciled if there are any errors and placed into bins, ready to be scanned on Election Day at 8 p.m. Through an intricate system of checks and balances, Lane County Elections works to ensure every vote is counted.
There's so much more to running polling places. There are a lot of people involved too. And you're about to meet a Virginia woman who is close to 90 years old and still working the polls.
That's right, and she's been doing it almost her entire life.
Michelle Marsh has the story.
Thank you so much for coming.
This election day, 89-year-old Pauline Gerhardt is working her 85th election. She's the county's longest-serving election officer.
I enjoy helping people.
She's a familiar face for many, greeting voters as they arrive and sending them home with a small token to remember election 2024.
They really seem to look forward to seeing you to get that sticker.
I have been so happy to see so many people from other years.
When did your passion for voting begin?
When I was probably 5, I went with my mother, and I thought it was such fun.
That mother-daughter tradition would continue.
Well, I knew it was sort of inevitable that I would become an election officer, just because Mother instilled in all of her children that it's so very important to serve your community.
Her daughter Beth Gerhardt is the chief election officer at her precinct.
The very first election that I served in was the 1996 election, and Mom was chief up at our local precinct, and several officers, for whatever reason, did not show up that day. And she called the county, and they said, just find somebody that you trust to fill in. And so she nabbed me.
But if you think Pauline is ready to retire after this year's election, think again.
How much longer do you think you'll be doing this?
Well, until I'm pulling the dirt over.
Pauline works the polls in Fairfax County, which is suburban Washington, D.C. When we come back, a look at the contested races in our area.
And Andrew Shushinsky will fill us in on the numbers that we have so far.
Stay with us.
Cancer may be tough, but we are tougher. We are the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Our game-changing research has led to the belief that the cures for cancer are in our blood. We are the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Beating cancer is in our blood.
November is No Shaver Month at City of Hope. That means, throughout November, to raise awareness about prostate cancer, City of Hope is urging men to stop shaving and get screened. But here's my problem. When I grow out my beard, I end up like this. I mean, have you ever? And you know how long this took me? What do I have? A couple of little hairs here? I mean, man, it's useless. How about this? How about this? Very Lincoln-esque, don't you think? How about this? Oh, you put them. Well, that's not the way I heard it. For all you men watching, do what I can't. Let your beards grow. And while you're at it, get screened. No shaver with City of Hope. Grow it, show it, know it.
I think it goes around.
Come on, buddy.
I'm here for you.
Oh, it's gonna be great. Look, look.
Why is it so hard?
Let's go. We gotta get you a practice.
I read it. Look, and it said.
Welcome back to our special election night coverage on WCMO NewsCenter 15. I'm Morgan Alstrom.
And I'm Evie Gravlin.
The winner of the 2024 presidential race may not be called on election night, as the vote counting process in key battlegrounds could take several days. The race for the 270 electoral votes need to win will likely come down to a handful of battleground states.
Then there's the balance of power on Capitol Hill, with tight races for control of both chambers. In the House, currently controlled by Republicans, all 435 seats are on the ballot. In the Senate, currently controlled by Democrats, roughly a third of the 100 seats are up for grabs.
In 2020, Joe Biden was not declared the winner until Saturday, several days after election night. While voters were still being counted in 2020, Trump falsely claimed victory and alleged that his opponents were perpetrating fraud.
Trump has already made baseless claims about election security this time around, raising concerns something similar could happen again.
Joining us now is WCMO NewsCenter's 15, Andrew Shashinsky, who had the details on the battleground states, as well as a look at some of the numbers we have so far.
The first numbers that we see tonight were from those who voted early or absentee. In fact, about 77 million Americans across the nation voted early. Many of those states, there are a lot of states in the election that could swing could decide the election. Some of those states include Arizona, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and they all have many electoral college votes. As the voters make their choice between former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris, there's a lot to be said with those states. Arizona has 11 electoral college votes. Georgia has 16. Michigan has 15. Nevada has 6. North Carolina has 15. Pennsylvania has 19, and Wisconsin has 10 Electoral College votes. All of those states are still up for grabs between both candidates, so both Harris and Trump have made repeated visits to those competitive states. With that said, the candidates were making those visits often throughout the running up until Election Day. Locally, over 17,000 voters, or 36% of the voters in Washington County, voted early at the Washington County Board of Elections. The Deputy Director, Karen Poloski, my apologies, predicts that numbers out for the presidential election will top the numbers that we received in 2020, which inspired 76.5% of voters to cast a ballot that year. The early numbers that we see coming in shortly after the polls closed came in shortly after the polls closed are from the counties where absentee voters and the voters from people who voted early in the Washington County Board of Elections office were in the contested places, and we're covering these this year, and the numbers that we see are as followed. As you can see, Donald Trump is leading 71% over Kamala Harris, who has 27% in the national election. Again, these numbers are just from the Washington County. Then taking a look next, we have the Supreme Court seat between Megan Shanahan and Michael Donnelly. Megan's leading with 71.25% of the votes, while Donnelly has 28.75%. Moving into our next running, we see that Melody Stewart, the Democratic candidate, is leading with has 30.36% of the votes, while Joseph Dieters has 69.64% of the votes, and that is for another Supreme Court seat. Now, Justice of the Supreme Court between the Republican candidate Daniel Hawkins and Democratic candidate Lisa Forbes. We see Hawkins has 70.86%, while Lisa has 29.14% of those votes. For the U.S. Senator, we have Don Kissick, who is running alongside Bernie Moreno, the Republican, and Sherrod Brown, the Democrat. Kissick has 3.48% of those votes, while Bernie Moreno is leading the way with 65.67%, and Sherrod Brown ending up right in between those two with 30.78% of the votes. For the representative to Congress, we see Michael Ruley, and the Republican candidate, and Michael Kripchek. So the battle of the Michaels, the Democratic candidate, we see Ruley leads with 70.48%, while Kripchek has 29.52% of the votes. For state senator, Ari Faber is trailing the Republican candidate Brian Chavez. Faber has 26.79% of the votes, while Chavez has 73.21%. As for the state representatives, Wenda Sheard has 26.86%, while Kevin Ritter has 73.06% of those votes. And for Washington County Recorder, the current incumbent, Tracy Wright, has 37.15% of the votes, while Teresa Judson, the Republican candidate, has 62.85%, so we could see a change in seating there as well. As for the issue for gerrymandering, which is regarding gerrymandering, 35.56% have voted yes for the amendment, and 64.44% have voted no. So with that said, again, these are just early numbers. There's a lot that can still happen throughout the election night, so we'll take a little break from this and come back and check in later on the election. So that's what I have for you guys from the Washington County Board of Elections. I'll be back later. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Andrew. We'll check back in with you again later in the program. Despite long lines in some places and a few hiccups common to all elections, the Associated Press reports that voting has proceeded without major problems. Enthusiastic voters lined up early today, even braving pouring rain in Houston.
Voters are deciding dozens of state ballot measures affecting the way people live, work, and die, while 10 states settle measures on abortion and reproductive rights. Today's ballot also features about half a dozen measures legalizing marijuana for recreational or medical use. Other measures focus on minimum wages, taxes, housing, immigration, and school choice.
A West Virginia measure would ban physician-assisted suicide. Numerous measures would affect future elections, including several amending state constitutions to say that only citizens can vote, something that's already the law for federal elections. When we come back, we'll look back to our coverage of October's Candidate Forum, which was here at the College of Marietta. We'll learn about the State Issue 1 and hear what the candidates had to say.
And later in our program, our reporter, Zach Worstel, will be joining us with a full report about what's going on downtown this election night.
Stay with us.
I never chew tobacco.
I don't drink much.
Never smoked a cigarette in my life.
HPV. Isn't that about cervical cancer?
What does that have to do with oral cancer? HPV? Didn't know that.
Hey, Major, did you get your flu vaccine yet? Make that your mission for today.
Did you say mission? Let's do this. With the flu season coming up, we all have to help protect ourselves by getting the flu vaccine. If you're over 65 like me, you gotta even be more careful. Look out! Our immune system may not be as strong as it used to be, so we have to do everything we can to keep the flu from catching up with us. Educating yourself about your flu vaccine options is important. It's also really easy. So ask about your vaccine options, because if you're a tough guy like me, you may need a tough vaccine. The flu can aggravate other conditions, so make it your mission to get the right flu shot for your age.
Lee, is that you? Did you complete your mission?
Oh, you mean the flu shot? No sweat. Visit the National Council on Aging at ncoa.org/flu to learn more about vaccine options for people 65 and older.
My Marietta. My Marietta.
My Marietta.
My Marietta.
My home away from home.
My stepping stones for the future.
My Marietta Network.
My performing.
At Marietta College, the professors are here for you more than just your classes. They want to help you succeed in both school and your career because they really care about you as a person. And that's why I can call my professors my friends. And that's why they're part of my Marietta Network.
I enjoy being here at Marietta College with all the kind of things that you get to do with mass media. You get to work around with the community, whether it be the elections that happen or with sports. You get to work on radio and format your own kind of show, whichever way you'd like to do it. And you even get to work on live television here. I mean, there's nothing more you could really ask for if you're interested in broadcasting or doing anything that involves mass media here at Marietta. It's a fun experience and I love it.
Marietta College provides me with state-of-the-art facilities. Also, while heading to class, it is like taking a stroll in the park. I've absolutely fallen in love with the campus.
At Marietta College, everybody cares about each other. We all say hi and smile when we see each other. My professors really know me and they care about my success. And I get to perform a lot here at the theater, and I get to sing, and I get to play in any bands that I want to. It's great.
Hello, and welcome to this special election program for WCMO NewsCenter 15. I'm Abby Scott. Early voting has started, and candidates are still campaigning in the Ohio Valley. And of course, we were at the October candidate forum that was held here at Marietta College campus. WCMO TV's Declan Garrett has coverage on the 6th District Representative race to the Congress.
As Election Day draws closer, Michael Kripchak takes on Michael Ruley in the 6th Congressional District of Ohio. With the two battling for a seat in Congress, here's what you need to know about each candidate's values and policy for a more well-informed decision on Election Day. We asked Kripchak simply, why him?
Because it's time we have an innovator and a leader who actually understands science in Congress. We have more than enough businessmen, we have more than enough lawyers, and we see where that's gotten us.
Because of his history as a military scientist, Kripchak offers the Mahoney-Marietta Manufacture Corridor.
It's focused on doing advanced materials manufacturing because Intel and Altium cells shouldn't have to leave the state to get any of the materials that they need. Refined materials.
Kripchak also wants for the commercialization of fusion energy. On the other side, Michael Ruley is running to regain control of his seat, but we weren't able to get in touch with him. Ruley was born and raised in the Mahoning Valley, and his main policy points are in favor of small businesses, cutting government spending, and a strict immigration policy, specifically shutting down the border. He's a father and a husband, and originally served as a Leetonia School Board president before running for the Senate in 2018. The two candidates faced off in a special election back in June, where Ruley won, receiving roughly 32,000 to Kripchak's 27,000 votes. But who knows what will happen when they face off again this coming Election Day. That's all I have for now. My name is Declan Garrett, and this is WCMO TV.
Thank you, Declan. Next, WCMO TV's Isabel Polling looks at the state senator 30th district race.
On Wednesday, October 2nd, Ohio Senate District 30 candidate Ari Faber made an appearance at Marietta College to discuss issues that were of concern and how he can resolve those issues. Faber is currently fighting for social justice and ensuring everyone is making ends meet and can afford the necessities. When asked why people should vote for him, Faber said he is working to bring back the American dream of having a work and family life back to our people, to advocate for investment in the region, and to bring hope and prosperity back. While Faber is not a politician, he sees politics as the sustainable way to help others and make a real systematic change for the community.
We do this by investing in our infrastructure and creating union jobs, increasing access to health care, and decreasing the cost of food and groceries. Our region deserves modern roads and highways. When we focus on our infrastructure, we can create good-paying union jobs that provide a gateway into middle-class life for people. In Northwest Ohio, we're seeing one of the largest solar plants globally being built. In Central Ohio, Intel is investing $28 billion. We should be next, but in order to be more competitive, we must fix our roads, our bridges, and our highways. But you cannot work a job if you are sick or in pain and cannot see a doctor. Last year, over 600,000 Ohioans lost some form of Medicaid health care. Not because they were ineligible, but because of paperwork issues. It's time we cut the crap in Columbus and work to pass legislation such as House Bill 174, which would create the Ohio Health Care Plan and extend coverage to all Ohioans. Nobody should be forced to choose between putting food on the table or seeing a doctor. I support increasing SNAP benefits and making them able to be used at farmers markets statewide, increasing access to local fresh food, as well as supporting our farmers. It's time for real leadership in Columbus. It's time that we bring back opportunity to our people.
Thank you, Isabel. Up next, WCMO TV's reporter Zach Worstel has details on the 94th State District race.
The Ohio 94th State Representative seat is on the ballot this election year. Incumbent Representative Republican Jay Edwards has reached his term limit, promoting 2 new candidates onto the ballot. Kevin Ritter is prepared to embrace the pioneer spirit.
As your state representative, I believe it's essential to protect Second Amendment rights.
Edwards endorsed Ritter, stating, "I've seen what an effective and sincere advocate Kevin has been for our corner of the state." Kevin was born and raised in the Detroit area and attended Central Michigan University, where he graduated in 1990 with a history and political science degree. Ritter wants to preserve what is best for the next generation. This includes addressing aging water and sewer systems and updating the quality of bridges and roads. Wenda Sheard is for the people as a Democratic candidate.
Politics is at its core relationships between people. I have to work with not only the House Democratic caucus, but members of the House Republican caucus.
Sheard grew up in the Cleveland area, earning a bachelor's in law from Cleveland State University in 1979 and her PhD in political science from the University of North Texas in 2004. She has worked as an attorney in Athens County for 22 years, working under judges of both political parties. We need accessible health care for every person in our district, without long waits or long commutes to see medical professionals.
There's shenanigans up there, and a lot of it's due to the gerrymandering, the severe gerrymandering.
Thank you, Zach. The next race hits closer to home, the Washington County Recorder race. Andrew Sashinsky has more information.
Marietta College hosted a candidate forum on Wednesday, October 2nd, giving each candidate an opportunity to address the community and answer some of their questions. The Washington County Recorder position is one of many on the ballot. While Republican candidate Teresa Judson declined our invitation to attend, Democratic candidate and incumbent Tracy Wright joined the forum. She's a 44-year veteran of the Washington County Recorder's Office. She currently is in her 8th term as county recorder. She serves on the Ohio Recorder's Legislative Committee, as well as a subcommittee for fraudulent documents served to recorders. She is an Eastern Star member and is also on the Ohio Farm Bureau. During the forum, the public wanted to know what her goals would be if she were to be reelected.
I currently have a big project going on, which we recently passed a Senate bill that's going to require it for all recorders in Ohio. That being that our records have to be online back to 1980. And right now my records are online from 1996 forward, and that project is currently being worked on to get all of those from 1980 to 1996 brought together, and it's a rather huge project. It's a big undertaking, but we are in the process of getting that done. But Ohio has passed that law, and I think it's effective in 2026 that we all.
Early voting has started, so be sure to cast your vote early or on Election Day, November 5th, 2024. For WCMO News, I'm Andrew Shashinsky.
Thank you, Andrew. On our ballot for this upcoming election is Issue 1, Ohio's Redistricting Amendment. WCMO TV's Kylie Kozel has more information on what Issue 1 is, as well as other national hot topics.
We're just weeks away from the upcoming elections in Ohio and across the United States, and we're breaking down what voters can expect this November on the ballot. There are a few key issues that voters are focusing on, with a big one hitting here right in the Mid-Ohio Valley. Ohioans will be voting on whether the state should remove politicians from redistricting process. Known as Issue 1, voting yes will make it illegal to gerrymander voting districts. In other words, arranging election districts in a way that gives a political party an unfair advantage. A yes on Ohio Issue 1 will ban current or former politicians, political party officials, and lobbyists from sitting on the commission. It will also require fair and impartial districts, require the Commission to operate under an open and independent process, and create the 15-member Ohio Citizens Redistricting Commission. Also on people's minds, the U.S. presidential election between former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris. Their campaigns are especially intense in battleground states. Key issues that voters are paying attention to are border security, strengthening the economy, the drug epidemic, reproductive rights, lowering energy costs, tax cuts, and lowering costs for families. For WCMO NewsCenter 15, I'm Kylie Kozel.
Thanks, Kylie. Now that we've covered the candidate forum that was held here at Marietta College campus, let's move forward to learn what people in our area think. WCMO NewsCenter 15's Eric Thurman was on the street and has this report.
I'm Eric Thurman. I'm a senior. Major is broadcast and journalism. I'm here with Panucci. Do you plan to vote for the election, and why not?
I do plan to vote for this election. I just feel like there's some things with the economy right now that could be better, and I'd like to play a part in that in the election.
Do you know where to vote and how to vote?
Yeah, I do. I'm probably going to do the mail-in ballots since I'm in PA and we're in Ohio, so I'd probably have to do the mail-in ballot for that.
Who do you plan on voting for?
I plan on voting for Trump. Just economy-wise, I just feel like he'd do a better job with the economy.
All right, thank you.
Yep, you got it.
Do you plan on voting for the election this year?
Yes.
Who do you plan on voting for?
Probably Trump.
Do you know where to vote?
Back home, but being down here at college, I probably have to do an absentee ballot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Now that we know what voters in our area think, let's fill in the gaps in your knowledge. WCMO NewsCenter 15's Evie Gravlin is here with practical facts when it comes to casting your ballot.
Hello, welcome to your guide to voting. My name is Evie Gravlin and I am here to support you through gaining your best knowledge on why and how to vote for this upcoming election. Mandy Amos, who is the director of the Washington County Board of Elections, was able to sit down with me and share her best knowledge through some questions that I had asked her. For the first question, I asked her, why is it important for us to vote? And this is what she said.
It's important for everyone to vote because this is, what makes our country. That's one of our fundamental things here in this country is your right to vote. And that helps us pick our future. That way everybody gets a chance to, pick what the future is going to be like for our country.
For the people around my age who are newer to voting, or for people that are just not registered to vote, I asked her why. Why should we vote?
Since that is our fundamental right, and then that gives them the right that they can complain about how things, if they don't like the way things are going with the country, then that's their chance to change it. That gives them, their step. That's something they can do, and it's an easy thing for them to do.
Since I can be pretty bad at remembering deadlines, I made sure to ask her when the voting registration deadlines were for her location.
The registration deadline for this election is October 7th, so that's coming up on Monday. And our office will be open from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. that night, so that gives people extra time to come in.
Thank you, Mandy. Since Washington County is a big area, we are split up into precincts, which help us know what location we go to vote. So, how do you know what precinct you're in?
Each person is registered to a precinct based on their address. And so that they can look that up on our website, or they could call in, or they could come into our office and ask us. So, and that'll, we have several polling locations, and there's several precincts at each polling location, and we can let them know that, or that's on the website too.
You can also vote from home and through the mail, which is super cool, and it's called voting absentee. Mandy helps us describe how we can do that.
If anyone wants to vote absentee, there's absentee through the mail, and to do that they have to complete an application, and it just asks for their name and address. They have to provide a form of identification and their birthday, and then they have to sign it, and they can get that application from us or from on our website. And then we also have absentee voting in our office, which some people also call early voting, and all those things start on October 8th. So the day after the voter registration deadline.
Now, when does voting start and end, and where do we go to?
The last day that we do have voting here in our office, if they come to do that, is the Sunday before Election Day. So that would be November 3rd. So that's the last day that they can come in, which is a Sunday. But we are open that day from 1 to 5. So, but yeah, just if you're not registered yet, or if you're not sure, just make sure and check that out. And we'd be glad to help you, or like I said, just go to our website and check it out too.
Well, that is your short crash course to voting. I would like to thank Mandy for donating her time to speak with me, and I hope this gave you a more clear understanding about voting, because I feel very educated. Thank you for watching, and I'm Evie Gravlin, and I'll see you later.
Thank you for the report, Evie, and thank you for watching the special election edition. Again, I'm Abby Scott, and from all of us here at WCMO NewsCenter 15, we thank you for watching our special election program.
Where are we?
We're at Marietta College.
This is where we live, at Marietta College.
November is No Shaver Month at City of Hope. That means, throughout November, to raise awareness about prostate cancer, City of Hope is urging men to stop shaving and get screened. But here's my problem. When I grow out my beard, I end up like this. I mean, have you ever? And you know how long this took me? What do I have? A couple of little hairs here? I mean, man, it's useless. How about this? How about this? Very Lincoln-esque, don't you think? How about this? Oh, you put them. Well, that's not the way I heard it. For all you men watching, do what I can't. Let your beards grow. And while you're at it, get screened. No shaver with City of Hope. Grow it, show it, know it.
Meet Candace. This senior basketball player loves to spend time hanging out before class with her best friend and education major, Shelby. Shelby knows the best place to study is at the Kalaki Cafe, where she can compare notes with baseball player Ryan and get a great cup of coffee too. In the off-season, Ryan tries his best when he's shooting hoops with broadcasting major Gage in the Dyson Baudo Recreation Center, home of Fenton Court. Gage, as producer at WCMO 15 News, runs the control room, where he shows the ropes to Mary, a junior volleyball player and advertising and public relations major. Mary loves to spend her free time drawing down at the Herman Fine Arts Center, where her sorority sister Madison majors in studio art. Madison meets up downtown with junior rower Katie. Downtown's where you can get beautiful river views, specialty stores, and the best root beer in Ohio. Katie heads back to campus just in time for a class in the Rickey Science Center with who else but Candace. So take a look around. Here at Marietta College, we're all connected. We are family, and we are all pioneers.
Welcome back to our special WCMO NewsCenter 15 election night coverage. I'm Morgan Ahlstrom.
And I'm Evie Gravlin.
Joining us here at the news desk is WCMO NewsCenter 15's roving reporter, Zach Worstel.
Zach, you've been in the downtown Marietta this evening. What did people have to say about today's election?
So I had the privilege to go down to downtown Marietta and talk of both Democrat and Republican candidates and citizens. First, I visited the Democratic headquarters in downtown Marietta and got to speak a quick word with two fine people down there. And then afterwards, I crossed over the street and spoke to the Republican candidates down at the Republican headquarters. They were all hanging out outside. I got a chance to speak to some citizens as well as to get a word and some quick thoughts from the candidates that were down there. And we have all that footage right now. I'm Zach Worstel with WCMO NewsCenter 15, and I'm here with Willa O'Neill. And today we're going to be talking about the upcoming, current election. So Willa, just what are a few of your thoughts about the general election so far?
Well, I am nervously, hopefully, looking forward to the results. I have been encouraged by the number of people who have come into our headquarters and have been really excited about particularly Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, but also our down ballot candidates as well. So we are hoping for a good turnout. I think there's a whole lot riding on this election.
Concerning more the local elections, what do you think is the most important local election race this far that people should know about?
Well, I think certainly Sherrod Brown's race for the Senate is very important because it could determine the outcome of the majority in the Senate. I also think that Sherrod Brown has been an outstanding public servant for 18 years and has represented Ohio really well, and I would love to see him return. I would also like to see our candidates for state rep and state senate do well. A lot of things happen in the legislature that I think are not particularly positive for the citizens of Ohio, and particularly in this area, and I would like to see that change.
I think that that's a fair point. Furthermore, going along with that, have you heard anything so far as the election is going on right now? Have you heard anything so far about the local elections and how it is going to your favor?
I have not heard any results thus far. So I'm hoping that they come in pretty quickly. We also have Tracy Wright running for county recorder, and I feel pretty comfortable that Tracy will retain her seat. She has been the county recorder for over 30 years, so I think that she will be sent back to that position.
Just speaking to her and hearing her talk, I can agree with that testament. Are there any final thoughts that you would like to address to the audience?
I just hope for a hopeful future for all of us, and that whoever we elect will represent all the people in their areas, whether that be our nation, our state, or our district. Just please remember that you're there to represent everyone, not just one party.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
3, 2, 1. All right, so I'm Zach Worstel for WCMO NewsCenter 15, and I'm here with
Jim Rainey.
Nice to meet you, Jim Rainey. Today we're going to be talking about the ongoing election. Right now, what are your thoughts about the ongoing election?
Well, of course, it's too early to tell who's going to win, but I'm certainly rooting for Kamala Harris.
And that's, of course, with your hat, the cat, and the law. Can you explain your hat and a little bit about the pride for the candidate?
Well, my wife is one of these cat lovers. We have 20 cats right now that are special needs cats, diabetic cats, cats with kidney problems, liver problems. They all require special medications. So I'm married to a cat lover, so I've got the cat on my Kamala hat.
Unfortunately, I'm not a cat lover. I'm allergic to cats. My girlfriend, she is a cat lover, and so I have to deal with that every once in a while. All right, so regarding the local elections more than the national elections, what do you feel like is the most important local election to you?
Well, to me, it's the House District 94 election with Wenda Sheard versus Kevin Ritter.
And why would you feel that way? I had the chance to interview Wenda about a month ago and got to hear her opinions, which to me was really helpful. But to those that don't know much about the race, why is the 94th district very important?
Well, in my opinion, Wenda is a moderate candidate. Kevin Ritter is an extreme MAGA candidate with all the baggage that comes with being a MAGA candidate. Ritter is very much against reproductive rights. He's very much in favor of spending taxpayer money on private schools, religious schools, at the expense of public school children. I just can't support Ritter. And I think Wenda Sheard is a very competent candidate who will represent us well and fairly in Columbus.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate your opinion.
Okay, well, I'll send you the bill.
Is this my good side? I can entertain you a little bit.
It's okay. All right, so I'm Zach. We're still here with WCMO NewsCenter 15. I'm here with candidate Teresa Judson, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the local election. So to start off, I'm sorry about the win, by the way.
Not much you can do about it. That's okay. If you see me just going like this, that's all. I'm not,
Regarding your specific race, how are you feeling going into tonight?
I feel pretty good. I've been working really hard. It's one of those things that I've been thinking about this for actually quite some time. And so, it's been kind of a couple years in the making. And I've been doing a lot of different things this year, such as going to festivals, parades, doing door-to-door, and just going to a lot of meetings to meet people all throughout the county. This is a really large county, and so it's a lot to go to all the different areas, but I've been doing that and just meeting lots of people and telling them what I'm about.
Well, thank you very much for that. I know it's a difficult thing to do. What made you want to specifically get into the race thus far, and what are some things you would like to do if you were to get in office?
Okay. So the reason I decided to run for recorder was that I've been working in county government for over 21 years. I'll be 22 actually here in January. And I used to work in the county recorder's office in Franklin County. I lived in Columbus for about 20 years. And so I did that, and I also worked in probate court. When I moved back here, this is where I am originally from, I actually got a job here with probate court and got involved with the local party. And so someone's like, oh, you think you might want to run for office? I was like, what? And then I was like, well, I kind of looked at my life, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, that's what I've been doing for the last 20 years. So I decided that I was going to do it, and so here I am, and, if I get elected, I want to look at making the office extremely user-friendly, and, customer service is something that's extremely important to me, making it so that people who come into the office, like attorneys, title companies, even just, your regular average Joe coming in, I want to make sure that they have a good experience when they come in.
I think that that's a great policy to have as well. I work in customer service, and I know that that's an important thing just for any type of business. So moving on from your specific race, what do you think is the most important race locally this election season?
Mine.
Other than yours.
Locally, I said it's mine. No.
Other than yours.
But no, I mean, locally, they're all important because, all the jobs here there's a reason for all the jobs. So, there's really not any other local candidates in the county. So mine is the most important race because I'm the only county-wide office that has an opponent. Now there are, you'll see here, we have someone who's running for state rep and state senator. Those are obviously very important too because they do represent our area in Columbus. And so it's really nice to have people who know what they're doing, and so you can talk with them. But there are also some good candidates And of course, everyone wants to know who the president's going to be. But as here, it's important. Don't get me wrong, we're all waiting for that result tonight, but it's, not necessarily a local race.
And just one final question. Do you have any final message that you'd like to tell the audience, and what is your just overall thoughts about the national election, the local election? What are the vibes tonight?
Well, I think the vibes are, you can see where people here especially, and just all across the country, people are really excited about voting. They're very passionate, and I think that's really something that's, encouraging, and, people are saying this really matters to me, and it's not just the national level, it's not state level, not local level, it's all levels. Everything's important. So I think it's just seeing how many people have voted today that really tells you all you need to know.
Well, thank you very much for your time. Do it.
3, 2, 1.
I'm Zach. We're still here at WCMO NewsCenter 15. I'm joined with Kevin Ritter, and we're going to be talking about the local election. So first off, Kevin Ritter, it's no surprise to anybody you are running in one of the local elections. So how are you feeling tonight regarding your local election?
I feel great. We worked very, very hard. I got after it early. I was doing some looking at numbers earlier. We've knocked over, I think it's 6,000 doors, done a couple dozen interviews, made lots of phone calls, been to lots of community events. So we've worked very, very hard.
You attended the Marietta College Republican Club. They had an event earlier on. I didn't attend that event because I was working, but how did that event go with the local students?
It was good. That's a group that we've had some contact with over the last decade. Obviously, you get new members all the time, but David Frazier is the president of that group now. I think he's doing a good job. I enjoyed the evening I spent with him.
I'm a fraternity brother with David Frazier, so I get to spend a lot of time with him. He's a very enjoyable chat. So moving on from your race and going on to other local elections, what do you feel like is the most important local election going on right now?
There aren't a whole lot of races going on locally. There's only one elected Democrat left at the county level in Washington County, so that's the one we've got our eye on tonight. Teresa Judson is the Republican running in that race against the incumbent, Tracy Wright. So we'll watch that one closely.
And have you had any look at the numbers so far this election night?
I just got a text as I was walking up that I'm ahead with the early vote here in Washington County. That doesn't mean much at this point, so it'll be a long night.
All right, and do you have any final thoughts regarding the election night? Both nationally and locally, it's a very important night. Is there anything that you want to let the audience know?
Again, I think we've left it all on the field, so to speak, because we've worked so hard. I don't have any second thoughts or worries about my race. What I'm doing is watching the national races very closely.
I think that's a very important thing for everybody to do. Everybody needs to come together, watch the national race, and then let it be.
Enjoy your evening.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So those were the 4 interviews that I conducted this evening with both the Democrats and the Republicans. I had the privilege to speak with 2 Republican candidates that were on the election ballot thus far, and they seemed quite happy, as well as the Democratic headquarters. There was a lot of people gathered both on the streets and inside the buildings, and a lot of people were just getting together, eating food, and having a good time. And I think that that's an important part of this election season. While it is a very stressful time for everybody, it's important to be with ones who are close to you and just enjoy the time that you have. But that's all that I had for you guys.
All right, thank you so much, Zach. We appreciate your reporting. Coming up next, one more check of the local numbers from WCMO NewsCenter 15's results reporter Andrew Shashinsky. Stay with us.
Cancer may be tough,
But we are tougher. We are the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Our game-changing research has led to the belief that the cures for cancer are in our blood. We are the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Beating cancer is in our blood.
November is No Shaver Month at City of Hope. That means throughout November, to raise awareness about prostate cancer, City of Hope is urging men to stop shaving and get screened. But here's my problem. When I grow out my beard, I end up like this. I mean, have you ever? And you know how long this took me? What do I have? A couple of little hairs here? I mean, man, it's useless. How about this? How about this? Very Lincoln-esque, don't you think? How about this? Oh, you put them. Well, that's not the way I heard it. For all you men watching, do what I can't. Let your beards grow. And while you're at it, get screened. No shaver with City of Hope. Grow it, show it, know it.
I think it goes around.
Come on, buddy.
I'm here for you.
Oh, it's gonna be great. Look, look.
Why is it so hard?
Let's go. We gotta get you a practice.
I read it. Look, and it said.
Welcome back to our special election night coverage on WCMO NewsCenter 15. I'm Morgan Ostrom.
And I'm Evie Gravlin.
It's time now for a last look at the numbers for our contested races from the Washington County Board of Elections.
WCMO NewsCenter 15's result reporter Andrew Shashinsky is here now with the details.
Thanks, Evie. We'll take one last look here at all the election details. As of right now, all 50 of the counties here in Washington County have submitted the counts have been completed. So the numbers that we're going to show you are the final numbers for Washington County, as all of them have been counted. As for the presidential election, we see that Donald J. Trump has 71.11% of the votes, while Kamala Harris has 27.72% of the votes. Looking at the national election instead of just Washington County, we see that Donald Trump also has 198 electoral college votes, and he also is leading in Georgia, North Carolina. He just took the lead in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, while Harris does hold the lead in Michigan, so that is definitely something to keep an eye on, as the outcomes of those can really tell the future of what's going to happen in this election. Now, going back, looking at the Justice of the Supreme Court, we have Megan Shanahan having 71.25% of the votes, while Michael Donnelly has 28.75% of the votes. Looking at the Supreme Court of Ohio, Melody Stewart has 30.36%. She is trailing Joseph Dieters, the Republican candidate, who has 69.64% of the votes. Another Supreme Court seat between Daniel Hawkins, the Republican, and Lisa Forbes, the Democrat, sees Hawkins with a 70.86% vote, while Forbes only has 29.14%. As for the U.S. Senator position, Don Kissick remains at the 3.48% he was right around earlier, while Bernie Moreno is still leading that candidacy with 65.67%, and Sherrod Brown with 30.78%. Representative of the Congress, we see Michael Ruley with 70.48% and Michael Kripchek with 29.52%, so the Republican candidate coming out on top in that one. And then as for state senator, Ari Faber, the Democratic candidate, finished with 26.79%, and Brian Chavez, the Republican, with 73.21%. State representatives, the race between Wenda Sheard and Kevin Ritter. Kevin Ritter, the Republican candidate, finishing with 73.06%, and Sheard finishing with 26.86%. As for county recorder, it looks like Teresa Judson, the Republican, came out on top with 62.85%, and Tracy Wright, the Democratic candidate, coming up short with 37.15% of the votes. As for issue 1, when it comes to gerrymandering and everything involved with that, we see that 35.56% of the people voted yes to the new amendment, and 64.44% voted no for that amendment. That is all we've got in terms of the Washington County race. Again, my name is Andrew Shashinsky. Thank you for joining us tonight. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Andrew.
So, Morgan, what are the numbers looking like now?
So it looks like for the electoral race right now, and remember, for the electoral race, you need at least 270 votes to win. Trump's currently at 172, and Harris is almost half that at 81. Okay, that's all we have time for tonight. From all of us here at WCMO NewsCenter 15, thank you so much for joining us for this special election program. Join us Thursday at 12:30 and 6:30 for our next WCMO NewsCenter 15 newscast. Have a nice day.
Meet Candace. This senior basketball player loves to spend time hanging out before class with her best friend and education major Shelby. Shelby knows the best place to study is at the Calafi Cafe, where she can compare notes with baseball player Ryan and get a great cup of coffee too. In the off-season, Ryan tries his best when he's shooting hoops with broadcasting major Gage in the Dyson Baudo Recreation Center, home of Fenton Court. Gage, as producer at WCMO 15 News, runs the control room, where he shows the ropes to Mary, a junior volleyball player and advertising and public relations major. Mary loves to spend her free time drawing down at the Herman Fine Arts Center, where her sorority sister Madison majors in studio art. Madison meets up downtown with junior rower Katie. Downtown's where you can get beautiful river views, specialty stores,